because I believe that there's a conversation connected to freedom, which is an element of prosperity that can feel confining. And when people talk about business principles and practices, there's generally like a regimen or a flow. Ooh, I see it all in the chat. I love it. There's a regimen or flow that people have, and they're telling you to follow a blueprint. I have a dear friend who we're about to do a huge conference here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. His name is Tony DeSylvester. You guys got to hear him a couple weeks ago when I interviewed him. It's the business scaling experience, and he just launched his new book, The Business Scaling Blueprint. And I think about all of the details, even as I coach and train and equip people from this perspective. There's things that you can do, and then there's things that you should do. And then there's things, even a should and a must is a little bit differently. There's like the non-negotiables. And people think freedom and existing as an entrepreneur rather than existing in a corporate arena or with a specific job description, that it's exciting because you get to wear all the hats and every day looks different. But how many of you guys can feel the pressure and pains connected to experiencing freedom as this that also feels like chaos? You're wearing all the hats. You're doing all the things. You now are not just one job description. You're about 20. You're the marketing person, the CFO, the COO, the CEO. You're the social media manager. You're literally hashtag doing all the things. And it can feel like burnout. It can feel like overwhelm. You can feel like analysis paralysis. You can feel isolated, especially if you're not in a community like this where people don't understand you at all. Your spouse could be one of those people that just looks at you like you have 5 eyes on your noggin, right? And they're like, what is wrong with you? Why are you risking our safety for said freedom? I believe a lot of us as entrepreneurs are doing this. We are risking safety for freedom. But the only way that we can experience that entirety without the chaos connected to it is boundaries. So think about it. If you have boundaries within, let's say, the context, I'm going to say the beach because for some reason in my brain I'm thinking about me when I'm dancing and worshiping on the side of the ocean. It's one of my favorite places to worship God. One, because I feel so small. He feels so big. And generally people don't care what you're doing and they're not paying attention to you. So I get to escape into the waves in front of me and nothing else matters in that moment. The sound, everything, I love it. But there are boundaries to which my feet can go in that moment. And those boundaries actually keep me safe. They keep the action and the intention safe. I'll give you another example if you're not a dancer and you don't hang out on the beach like I do often. Let's just think about the road, right? I love like that fast cars and freedom. I love adrenaline. I love being able to just like set sail or set my tunes on, roll the windows down on a good spring day and just hit the road. Got nowhere to go and nowhere to be. Now, that doesn't probably happen a lot when you're in this state of entrepreneurship where you just feel like you're in the grind or in the chaos and you feel like there's 1,000 things to do and you don't know how to accomplish any of them. So sometimes we just completely pause. Well, I would encourage you that the pause is a part of prosperity. And I'm going to give you 5 specific reasons if you are just now getting to this place of saying, yes, entrepreneurship is for me, or you're on the antithesis side of this feels like chaos and I think I want to go back to my 9 to 5. I was having a conversation with Kim Walsh-Phillips, who you guys know well, incredible business coach, and she's done so much within her business that is so notable. She was on my podcast on Monday talking about her new book, The Shift, which I already pre-ordered. You guys should get it too. Yes, shameless plug for Kim. And she said, you know, Tamra, there were times when I just wanted to quit it all. I just wanted to give it all away. And I just wanted to go to an island and be a waitress. And I can totally resonate with that. I'm like, yes, that feels so freeing. She said, and it wasn't necessarily because she didn't love the money or she didn't like the impact or any of the reasons in which she started it. What it felt like was a lot of chaos, a lot of uncontrol, but more so importantly, you cannot shut your mind down, right? Entrepreneurs are dreaming all hours of the day. As visionaries, we're seeing things come to fruition all hours of the day. And therefore we feel like right now, we got to do this thing right now. But there is a pace connected to prosperity. So I mentioned a pause. I mentioned pace. Those aren't even on my list, but they're important. And so if she was a waitress, if you were a waitress, you could just go home and put your feet up on the couch and not have to worry about what you're going to wear to work tomorrow because there's a uniform, not have to worry about who your customers are going to be and going to acquire them because somebody else does all of the marketing. This isn't wrong, by the way. If that is something where you're like, yes, I want to do that, more power to you. And also understanding that being an entrepreneur, if you're not an entrepreneur in the space, that's okay too. We need you. I need you. But there are still ways for you to experience freedom and prosperity as any and all of the above, and it's connected to boundaries. So when I hit the road and I'm in my car and I've got yellow lines, I've got the white dashed line, I've got the double line, I know my constrictions and my restrictions are actually, this is what people don't like, protection. You want to be protected, you want to feel safe, but you also want to break the limits. You also want to break the speedometer. You also want to go faster than fast. You want the outcome. You want to be where you're going. Because as dreamers and visionaries, we know that this is so tangible. We can taste it. We can see it. We can feel it. When God gives me a vision, I'm like, okay, this is happening tomorrow, right? Right? We're like the right now society or the microwave society, they like to say. But there is a pace and there is always a precursor to said vision, said dream, and that's the pause. And the pause, a couple things happen in there. I'm going to give you the first 3 pieces to this prosperity map that I think will change the trajectory of your business or the trajectory of the vision that God has given you, whether you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur. First off is personal design. It's all connected to design. We are created. We were a design. We were a design idea, and then we were brought to life. And the things that are being deposited as vision, dream, ideas, intuition, all the things that you can call it, energetic alignment, oh, the stars aligned and here I am. I know I'm supposed to do this thing. Yes, 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 all of that. Creation, it's a design, and it's a personalized design, a personal design. So if you're hanging out in Clubhouse or you're hanging out on YouTube, you can see the link below. It's a profit identity quiz. Profit identity starts with a personal reflection. And because we see influencers and we see people doing everything that has been deposited, hopefully, into their line of sight or their vision, we think, oh, we can do that too. And we start to generate our ideas configured to somebody else's design. If you're listening now and that like resonates with you, you're like, oh yeah, I always am tweaking to what other people are doing because it seems to be working for them. So perhaps it'll work for me. If you feel like you're constantly shifting into what is trendy or popular, it's like when everybody left Instagram and they fled to TikTok. It's not the wrong thing to do. But now we're like a couple of years, some things have settled, and I still love Instagram. And I'm on TikTok, but my world is still really generated. My DMs, that's where I hang out all the time. TikTok is fun. I like it, but it doesn't make as much sense to me because I've put more energy into this other space, so it feels like home. What feels like home to you? It's got to be personal. There has to be a personal connection to what it is that you're doing, or your prosperity will never actually prosper. You'll never experience it because there's going to constantly be conflict. And conflict exists in chaos because you have no boundaries. And freedom with boundaries is safe and protective. So if you know that this is my gift, this is my talent. It's why people take all of those personality assessments. You hear about Enneagram, which I really like. I love the wealth dynamics quiz, if you've ever taken that one. Mike Zeller, who's one of our moderators here as well, who is a previous coach of mine, he talks about this in his Zone of Genius framework, wealth dynamics quiz. And so you take this and I find out, okay, I'm an Enneagram 3, I'm a star on the wealth dynamics test, I'm an ENFJ on the Myers-Briggs. I could go down the list of all the things that I am, and you could self-diagnose who I am, and what I want to do with my life and how I'm going to do it. But there is still a personal design that we can fluctuate in and around as long as our gifts and talents are focused to our prosperity. So understanding that is key. What are you gifted in? What are you talented at? How does it align to your personal testimony? Because that's where the fire is ignited. That's where the spark comes. Having a good idea that somebody else's idea isn't a God idea. It's their idea, and you're now trying to maneuver it. Hopefully you caught that. All right, second thing is the profit design. So now you know you've taken this personal inventory I love to do this specific activity with clients, especially when they're in like the very beginning stages of, I know I want this, but I don't really know what this is. You can fold your paper horizontally, and you can create a margin in the center or a middle seam. One side would be profit, passions, and the other side would be profit, pains. Your profit, passions, and your profit, pains. This is your design. So you're going to list out all of the passions that you have. Everything from like, you love breakfast food and smoothies, to you love to travel, to you love working with kids, to you love colors and the rainbow, or you love to teach, or you love to coach, or you love to bring people into experiences and immersive opportunities. So you love to speak and teach from stage, or you love to do it from a microphone, or you don't like that. You really like small groups. You need to understand what your passions are. The other side is your pains, which a lot of people don't think of, but these are driving forces connected to your profit. How could that be? Because it matters to you. If it is a pain to you, it's likely not going to go away. If you think about Jacob when he got his name shifted to Israel and he had a limp, that pain from Jesus, that pain from wrestling with God, that pain is what led him into his purpose. And it never let him forget. It never let him forget what happened in that season, in that valley. So if we build our business around an element of pain, which is one of the reasons I started my publishing house, because Lordy, the publishing process in the way that I wanted to do it more formally, it was like, I was on a chaotic course at that point. There was no boundaries. Everything could work or nothing would work. And there was literary agents and publishing houses and Amazon and self and hybrid. And what do all these things mean, right? So I created a publishing house out of a place of pain so that it could support other people. This is important for you guys to understand. So pain and passion. Now, it's not just list this, and then what illuminates to you on the page. There is strategy connected to it. I love to show the transformational zone. So you should be able to make an arrow from a pain to a passion to a pain. Okay? Pain to a passion to a pain. It doesn't matter which direction. And from there, this is a transformational line. What happened to move you from said pain to said passion? What passion got you out of said pain? And then we could talk about 1,000 other things, but there are 3 other things to talk about. Just with that activity, this should serve you. Just from that activity, this should free you. We're talking about prosperity connected to freedom, right? What happens more than anything that I see is this idea of niching. I've talked to you about the fact that Jesus didn't niche. He didn't. And so from a biblical perspective, like, yes, I understand language and copy connected to who you're talking to matters. But you might have a passion for travel like I do. And I host international retreats with women, generally entrepreneurs. And I get to do one with my hubby in the coming months. So we're going to do couples retreats with someone, at least one of them is an entrepreneur, because Lord knows that that's a whole friction communication conversation that needs to happen and be an open book all the time. But we infuse that as a part of our business plan. And how does that make sense if you're a publisher? How does that make sense if you're a podcaster? How does that make sense if you're a speaker? How does it make sense if you help people develop business? Make it make sense. Your passion and your pain, pains being people do not leave their little neck of the woods, their little circular circumference of boundary, and they think that that's freedom, but freedom exists in the boundaries that have been gifted to us. And so open your eyes, open your lens to the potential profit that also fuels your passion. You'll never stop doing it because you love it. I'm hopefully jogging some ideation with you guys right now. All right, so number 3, connected to the recon work that you need to do for your prosperity map, is the proportional design. Proportional design to the life in which you want to live freely. So if I am also a mom, if I am also a wife, if I am also a friend, if I am also a minister, if I am also a writer, if I am also an orator, if I'm all of these things, how am I creating proportional time for said priorities? I don't believe as much in the element goal. And it's not that it's not profound and they don't work. We know that they do if you're intentional on it. It's kind of like New Year's resolution, right? Is technically a goal. It just, for some reason, everybody lets it flop by February. But when it's a priority, it becomes, like I said earlier, a non-negotiable because it's prioritized, and I've created proportional margin to make it happen. And I know those proportional designs weekly. I know them monthly. I know them quarterly. We're talking about the end of the quarter here. I know them annually. And so from there, I get to create my days based on priority and proportional design, connected to my pains and my passions and what I am personally gifted and talented in. All right. A lot of this is self-centered work, okay? And there is nothing wrong with being selfish and self-centered when it comes to initially starting your business. Otherwise, your lens is on the outside. And again, you start to shift based on other people. It's comparison. It's the thief of joy. So if this is all transcendent information that's happening on kind of like this quiet time, doesn't mean that you can't be vocal and boisterous and sharing about the journey. I think that's so important. Sharing about the process and the evolution of what's happening, allowing other people to see the messy starts. Messy starts are so important. Letting them also see the moments where you're just driving yourself nutty and you just need to go worship on the beach or you need to go take that drive. Those pauses matter. But the next piece is where a lot of people get it wrong. They go right in from, okay, I've got it all figured out. I know my program. I know how I'm going to serve them. I know that it's 8 weeks. I know that this is how much it costs. They've done all of this work connected to the personal, profit, proportional design. And now they're ready to go make the money, right? Because prosperity is connected to freedom, and freedom does have an element connected to finances. And it's important for us to recognize that and not feel shame around that, but to celebrate that as a tangible, critical resource for expanding other people. So what happens is people are looking for clients. They're looking to become successful at this point. Mind you, you are already successful in the eyes of the Lord in your being, not in your doing. You already have worth and value before anybody ever gives you $1 for said idea. Why? How? Clearly, we know that our worth isn't defined by our bank account. And if we don't, we need to go back to number one and talk about personal design. But ultimately, understanding this, a lot of people are going out to say, how can I now be successful in this thing that I have built? This is where it shifts from self-centered to people-centered. You have to get out of your own way, and you have to shift your lens, shift your energy to the people. This is where copy, this is where promotional design, this is number 4, promotional design, connected to how you are getting new clients. This is a client acquisition model on how you're promoting, how you're selling, for instance. It's not about you being successful. We know this from a place of service. How are you helping others be successful? If that is how all of your energy is when you're creating content, not I need to sell out this program, I need to make sure I fill the retreat, I need to make sure people are at this thing so that I feel successful, so that I make my bills this month. No, how are you helping other people be successful? How are you helping them be more whole? How are you helping them achieve their freedom? This is the beautiful reciprocity of service and of giving. Because when you give, the magnitude of receipt is so beautiful. It's a multiplication factor. It's a principle of heaven. And ultimately, if we're operating under the true knowing, the boundaries of freedom, the boundary being that you are already rich, that you already have treasures stored in heaven for you. There's a different aura. There's a different confidence. There's a different power. There's a different authority when you go to promote. Because you know that you're serving out of a place of pain and passion to propel other people into their prosperity, not for you to become prosperous. Everything in this, I have got lots of P's flowing out of my mouth like now, and I love alliteration. A lot of it is just perspective. And so one of the things that people don't do associated to this is obviously the lens in which they're activating, but also when they're creating content, are you represented in multiple places? I mentioned that I love Instagram. If you Google me, you'll find me everywhere. I've got my own YouTube channel. I've got my own TikTok. I've got my own Twitter account. I've got my own Spotify. I've got it's everywhere. It's endless. Google account. What you need to be focused on isn't how can I get more attention to me, but rather how can I serve what people are searching for? How can I be the solution when people are searching? So it's not about Tamra's following. It's about me helping other people become successful in the area that I just happen to also love and have some sort of key knowledge that I know will serve them and help them achieve freedom. It might sound simple and you're like, yeah, that makes total sense. But the question is, are you doing it? Are you actually doing it? Are you really leaning into hashtags? Because you could tell me you post 3 times a day and all the things. We're posting about 15 to 20 times a day across platforms. That's a lot of content. Is it searchable? Can people find me? And when they find me, are they getting me like talking about something that I love? Or are they getting me and listening to something that they love that now they connect with me energetically on the same conversational line? Maybe it's the belief system that they're attracted to. There's so many different reasons that people will love you, know you, want to search you out, but they can't search you out if they can't find you. So this is something that was really unique. I'll just give you a quick tip for YouTube. If you are a podcaster and you're doing video podcasting, which is something we love to do, we have weekend retreats where people come and they go from zero an idea to completely live on all of the different platforms, Apple Podcasts, everything, and you're ready to hit the ground running with all of the resources that have helped us. We're now at like 350 plus interviews 5 years later, top of the charts in business and spiritual, and we've brought over 40 podcasts to life. So we've done it, okay? We're giving you a blueprint based on what has worked and what is successful. One of our gals was already top 1% in less than 6 months with her podcast. So understanding that we help people in that regard, understanding that there is a place based on pain, what I didn't want to do, and passion, we created an event, we created an experience, we created a retreat. And when I tell you about that, I'm not telling you like, here's what I did. I'm telling you, here's what works. And there's a variable to that. It's not selfish. It's for you. It's for your success. I don't get any new listeners. I don't get any new followers from that. I'm pushing all of that into you and your energy because together as a body, we expand. So for YouTube, a searchability feature I wanted to share, when I was for about 4 years, we were putting out titles that were really me-centric. They were also centered around the guest. And I've had some incredible people, Tim Story, our one and only Glenn Lundy. I've had some incredible people on our podcast. Heidi Powell, who was a part of The Biggest Loser, our friend Dave Hollis, who passed recently, just some really notable, beautiful people. And in those conversations, I was thinking, well, they have a following, so let me put their name in the title because people are searching Dave Hollis, right? Well, that did not serve the person's question. When someone goes to a search engine, specifically YouTube, they're asking it a question. And while they might be a Dave Hollis fan, and I keep saying Dave Hollis, I love him so much. I just read a post about him and was thinking about his podcast this morning. So it's on my heart. But I'm thinking about the fact that they're likely not looking for said solution from said influencer. They are looking for the solution. They don't care who has it. So how do you then redefine your titles, redefine your content, redefine your hashtags, redefine your bios, redefine your Google page, redefine all of the different places, your blog, the things and how you're showing up, to less about me and what I can do to serve you and more about the success you can have based on said service? It changes everything. So now if you go to our YouTube page, you can see a huge difference, uptick in views. You can see an uptick in subscribers. And it took what seems simple. But the question goes back to, are you doing it? Have you created a personal design? Is it personalized specifically to you? I want it to be so you that when you are not in the room, it's still you. My brand is that. My business is that. Is it connected to your profit design, your unique profit design based on your pain and your passion, the transformational zone connected to that, and then how you get paid out of it? That's the valuation stage. How much is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost you, and how much is it going to get valued to them? Remember, how are you helping them be successful? The next one is the proportional design, based to your time, based to your freedom, based to your boundaries, based to your priorities. Next, it's the promotional design, making sure that you are shifting towards them, achieving their freedom, not you achieving yours. You're not making a sell, you're serving. And then lastly is the partnership design, which we did, a fantastic 2-hour training yesterday in our mastermind. The testimonials from it, people were crying because they felt so free in the fact that they didn't have to do it all alone. And you don't have to do it all alone. If you have never heard of partnership marketing, if you have never heard of a partnership design, oh my gosh, I only have 2 minutes left, so I can't even go into it, but you have to DM me because it's going to change your life to understand how you can actually create momentum in your business, especially if you don't want to be an influencer, if you don't want to be the one who's on camera all the time, but you know that what you have can change people's lives. You need to know what partnership marketing and partnership design is. Or if you're the influencer and you're like, I love talking about this. I love gaining new followers. I love to create YouTube and be on podcasts and do all these things. I want to write a book. I want to be a best-selling author. I want to get on the stages, but I don't do really well at the systems and operations side of things. I know that both of you, one or the other, depending on what side of the coin you flip, you're spending too much time doing the thing you actually don't like, you're not designed to do. And therefore, that's where burnout and isolation come. You have to flip the coin, and you have to understand that partnership marketing is actually working together with people to do the thing in entirety. They're not going to step on your toes. They're not going to do the exact same thing as you. So you're not partnering with someone who is in your exact lane. You're like racing next to your ride or die. They're in the lane next to you and they're like, ready, set, go. You have a different vehicle, you have a different car, you have a different vibe, you're listening to different music, going back to that road analogy, that fast cars and freedom. But you have to understand that together you get to the same place. And you've now expanded your seats. How many more people can fit in one car or 2 cars than one? Y'all, this is a prosperity blueprint. I could keep going all day. I love this stuff, and I want to equip you to do it. And so if you want to get in touch, you guys know where to find me. Make sure you click the link for the Profit Identity Quiz because that will get us kind of connected. And I'm right